In the clandestine realm of international espionage, the operations of CIA bases remain shrouded in secrecy. From the bustling streets of Frankfurt to the remote outback of Australia, these covert outposts play a pivotal role in intelligence gathering and cyber warfare. This analysis delves into the intricate workings of these espionage hubs, revealing their methods, objectives, and the broader implications for global security. At the heart of CIA operations lies the strategic placement of bases across the globe. These installations, often disguised as diplomatic consulates, serve as nerve centers for a myriad of intelligence activities. The primary objective is to gather information, develop cyber weapons, and conduct clandestine operations without drawing attention. The notorious Vault 7 leaks provided unprecedented insight into these shadowy operations, exposing the breadth of the CIA's cyber capabilities. One of the most striking examples is the CIA's base in Frankfurt, Germany. Officially an American consulate, it secretly hosts a hub for the Center for Cyber Intelligence, CCI. Agents like Jane Smith, a fictional representation based on leaked details, operate under the guise of diplomatic personnel. Their tasks include developing malware and hacking tools that can infiltrate everything from smartphones to secure government networks. These cyber weapons are potent, capable of turning everyday devices into surveillance tools. For instance, tools that bypass encryption in popular messaging apps allow the CIA to intercept and monitor communications in real time. The strategic location of Frankfurt is crucial, as the Schengen Agreement facilitates unrestricted travel across Europe, enabling agents to carry out operations with minimal oversight. The implications of these operations are profound. Economically, the CIA's hacking tools can disrupt markets, influence political outcomes, and gather intelligence on foreign economic policies. Security-wise, these bases fortify America's position as a global surveillance powerhouse. The infamous surveillance of German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone underscores the extent of these espionage activities, raising ethical and diplomatic concerns. In Australia, the Pine Gap facility represents another facet of CIA operations. Officially a joint defense installation, it is in reality a critical node for global intelligence collection. With its array of satellite dishes and antennas, Pine Gap intercepts communications across vast regions, aiding in both military and intelligence operations. The facility played a crucial role in the War on Terror, providing real-time intelligence for drone strikes and battlefield strategies. The future of CIA bases and their operations holds significant implications for global security and diplomacy. As technology evolves, so too will the methods of espionage. The integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into surveillance systems promises even greater capabilities. However, this also raises the stakes for privacy and civil liberties. The ethical debate surrounding these practices is likely to intensify, demanding greater transparency and accountability from intelligence agencies. The covert world of CIA bases exemplifies the intricate balance between national security and ethical considerations. These installations, hidden in plain sight, wield immense power in shaping global events. As citizens and policymakers, it is imperative to remain vigilant and advocate for responsible use of intelligence resources. The future of espionage will undoubtedly continue to evolve, and with it, the need for informed and ethical oversight. The urgent call to action is clear. Recognize the pervasive influence of these practices and strive to uphold the values of transparency and accountability in the pursuit of security. Jane Smith is sitting on a Lanza machine bound to Frankfurt, Germany. She empties her second glass of red wine and fastens her seatbelt because the plane is about to land. When Jane exits the aircraft, she goes straight to customs. She shows the officer her American passport, which is black. "Why are you here?" the officer asks. "Supporting technical consultations at the consulate," Jane responds. The officer stamps her passport and she passes through. Jane grabs some euros from an ATM, takes a cab to a nearby hotel, and checks in. Jane lied a little just now during the customs check. She is not working for a consulate, and despite her passport, she is no diplomat. Jane is a CIA agent, a hacker. She's visiting a covert base of her agency secretly set up within the American consulate in Frankfurt. But this base in the heart of Europe is just one of a giant network spanning all across the globe. Jane enters the hotel room and drops off her bags. She was prepared for this trip. She's been given instructions on how to get around in Frankfurt. Stores are closed on Sunday, gas stations are not a good place for fine dining, and other such details. Thanks to the extensive leaks called Vault 7 from a few years back, we know a lot about these operations. Generally, this information relies largely on leaked details and statements of retired agents. It was a 9-hour flight from Washington, D.C. to Frankfurt. Jane is pretty exhausted and takes a shower. She is very careful not to leave anything that could identify her unattended. She takes her phone and laptop with her to the bathroom. Freshly dressed, Jane takes the U5 subway towards Poing-Aschheim. She gets off at Ginnerstrasse, just a few hundred meters north of the consulate. Frankfurt hosts the largest U.S. consulate in the world. Officially, it is serving American residents in the region, but in truth, it is doing much more than that. At the main gate, Jane shows her black passport and is handed a yellow visitor's badge. She follows the signs to the employee entrance alongside the consulate building on the left. Jane holds up her yellow badge at the door and is buzzed into the building by a guard. Inside the building, Jane walks through a number of corridors and through a large heavy door to Post 1. A U.S. Marine is waiting behind a glass window. Jane gives her the yellow badge and gets a blue one instead. Jane can finally enter her new office and get to work. She calls her person of contact and gets to know the other agents at the station. In 2013, news broke that the U.S. spied on then-German Chancellor Angela Merkel's private phone for over 10 years. The NSA may have been spying on Chancellor Angela Merkel. A spokesman for the German leader described the idea as totally unacceptable. The operation was run by the so-called Special Collection Service, a spy unit of the NSA and CIA. Officially, it does not exist. Unofficially, it is running spy operations from almost 100 U.S. embassies all across the world, including Frankfurt. But Jane works for another unit here. She works for the European branch of the Center for Cyber Intelligence, the CIA's hacking division. Jane and others are developing cyber weapons. There are over 1,000 hacking systems and several hundred million lines of code in the CIA's arsenal. Some of these hacking tools are extremely powerful. The CIA could turn devices from Apple, Google, Samsung, and many others into secret microphones. There are tools that bypass encryption from messengers like WhatsApp, Signal, or Telegram, allowing the agency to collect texts and voice messages. But there are also attack systems like fine dining, which only work from up close. This is where Frankfurt's strategic location comes into play. The Schengen Agreement allows Jane to travel from Frankfurt to almost any European country without border control. If Jane wanted to penetrate high-security targets that are not connected to the internet, she could simply take a train, stick a USB drive loaded with malware into a target PC, and be back in Frankfurt by supper. Jane is a very talented hacker. If one day she decided to leave the CIA, she could have a very promising career as a cybersecurity expert. All she'd have to do is build a portfolio and launch her own website. Unfortunately, Jane is not very creative when it comes to designing. Jane is working at the base for a time now when she gets a phone call. Her superiors need her expertise at another location. She says goodbye to her colleagues, checks out of her hotel room, and buys a single malt whiskey with remaining euros in the duty-free shop at the airport. Jane's next destination is Australia. Jane gets off the plane and walks to customs, and things do not go smoothly. One of the officers seems suspicious about her and selects Jane for secondary screening. But she's prepared. Agents like Jane are usually trained here at Camp Peary, or how most people in the CIA call it, the farm, a roughly 10,000-acre piece of land near Williamsburg, Virginia. It was established during World War II as a military training center. Later, it was transformed into a camp for Italian and German war prisoners. In 1951, the CIA took over and turned it into a secret spy school, of course, not officially. In fact, the CIA has built an entire fake city there. There are multiple houses and dormitories for students and staff. For training, the site has several shooting ranges, boathouses at the river, driving courses, and an airfield. Students learn everything they need to know about life as a secret agent in the field, from basic weapons training all the way to the handling of explosives. How to evade pursuers and field surveillance. Students practice how to infiltrate a border that is tightly guarded by watchtowers and police dogs. Enemy capture is simulated by kidnapping students from their dorm and interrogating them. There's even a mock prison where students learn how to deal with military confinement. If training needs to be even more hardcore, students are brought to Harvey Point, just a few hours south of the farm. This is the place where, among other things, the operation to kill Osama bin Laden was planned and trained. Jane stands in front of a customs officer at the Australian airport. She remembers how to survive secondary screening. According to a CIA training manual, the two most common questions in this situation are, "Why are you here?" and "Where are you staying?" Jane learned how to maintain her cover no matter what. When asked, Jane gives a quick and concise answer. No pause and no delaying sounds between questions and response, just as the manual says. She knows that any unnecessary information or overly specific answers might lengthen the